Hello, family. Welcome to Victor TV again. It's been a moment since I've been here, but welcome to my channel at the end of the day. And as usual, I try to not think too much or plan too much about what I'm going to talk about, but I'm often given um, material from above to talk about and experiences on a day-to-day basis that I constantly learn and inspired by, and would like to share these things with the family. And when I say the family, I don't only mean Facebook family or the people around me, my personal family and what have you. Mostly talking about, I won't even say the black family totally, more so, but just those people who are of like-mindedness and want to see the right thing done and want to live a life of rightness, fairness. So at the end of this day, this morning when I got to school, there was this gentleman there, and I believe he was from the Department of Correction, speaking with our 8th grade students. And I paused for a minute to see what he was talking to them about, and was sad to know that later, when I got to my particular class that I was going to be teaching that day, they had not been invited, or they missed out on his presentation. So I was glad that I was able to sit in there for a moment to get the gist of what he was speaking about. And I guess basically what he was talking about was giving his experience as a parole officer or what have you. And he was speaking to the students about the changes that were coming, where so much violence and so much crime is happening with people who are under the age of 18. And we're getting to where laws are being put in place to prosecute children that are 16 years of age and maybe even under. I didn't get the full gist of everything that he was saying in reference to that. But things are getting pretty rough. And I think that it is because of the breakdown of the family. And so, because our community, the black community, is in such a turmoil when it comes down to having a bright future. So many of us, before I went into the teaching field, I used to work in the prison system, and I saw so many black men and women in prison. And when you think about it, to come into this world as an innocent child, and after a few years can make the determination of which direction you're going in and what type of life you're going to have. And that is determined by the first years of your life. And they're making laws now to where you can go into prison. Let's say if you go in 16 and you're given 20 years, how old are you when you come out of that situation? And then you're going to have to try to acclimate yourself back into the world, back into the community, and you've lost and you've fallen so far behind, it's almost impossible for you to catch up. And so many things change. And so with listening to his commentary to the students, when I went into that classroom today, I began to speak with that class that had missed that presentation, and I've had to bring them up to date on that because it was so important that this message get to them. Well, when I began to talk with them when I first entered into the classroom, because you have to take control of these classes, or students will try to run over you. I don't care what age they are. If you don't have your plan together, and especially as a substitute teacher, and I was substituting today because there were several teachers that were out, and usually I would teach classes that have already been established for me to come in and teach them. I had to teach in the place of another teacher who was out, and there were several teachers and administrators that was out today, interesting enough. But I started my conversation off with them about home training, the first school. And I talked to them about my experience of working in the prison system, which is the reason why I taught and retired in public education, was because I felt that this was my calling, to go and to teach in the school system, because I knew that I could not get these men out of prison while I was working there. And there was no way to get them out, but I could sure as heck keep them, or have more effect upon trying to keep our younger generation out of prison. So that's been my mission, that's been my ploy, to make a positive difference in the lives of the students that I'm working with. Well, I started out with home training, and I said to them, their first school that they're enrolled in is the school that usually their mother teaches, because she is the first teacher. She's usually the first teacher of a human. It's the mother. So she has a great responsibility, and I try to encourage, especially the young females, to understand the great task that they have been given in motherhood. There's not an individual who comes into this world without a mother, unless you're a test tube baby. that still has a mother, which means that this female has a grand effect on how life turns out here on this earth, how it's affected, even from the cradle. And I spoke to them about home training, and the mother actually should be prepared to teach and to educate these young people, to teach them. So her first job is to get them ready to be able to enter kindergarten or whatever. And one of the first things that she has to teach them is to pay attention and to give respect. So she gets down to the child's level and she says, "Come here, little Jimmy. Come up. Come here. Look at me. Look at me." She gets down in his face and say, "Focus or listen to me. Mommy's talking to you. Be quiet. Stop and look at me." In other words, she's teaching that child to pay attention to the teacher. Give your attention to the teacher. Respect the teacher. She's teaching the first principle of respect is to zip your lips and listen respectfully, and make sure that you're understanding what the teacher is saying. And she teaches several other little principles that get them ready for the second school. So that was basic training that they get at home, or home training. Then they go to the next level, kindergarten or whatever. But once that has been set and in place, that child understands that when they go to school, or they should understand when they go to school, that now it is time for them to play what I call play the ACE. Pay attention, concentrate, eyes and ears on the instructor. That is the first thing that mom was supposed to have taught them, and it was a part of being respectful. Well, I spoke to the children and I said, you need to check yourself out to see, check into what you're doing right now. I don't even have to point at you. I don't know any of you in this classroom. I said, but if you stop and think, if your teacher is getting on you every day about something, if your teacher is having to send you to the office, send you out of the classroom for being disrespectful, if you're going to ISS, if you're doing any of these, when I came up through school, I can't even remember a time being sent to the office. Maybe once. I might have been about second or third grade. But it wasn't, I don't think it was anything big. But other than that, I never remember going to the office. I've never had a teacher to say anything about me in reference to being disrespectful, back talking, or anything. Never, ever. I am not lying. Never. And I'm the youngest of 8, and I think that pretty much goes through with all 8 of us. My mother did a good job at basic training, home training, to teach us how to be respectful. But one thing that I had, and my family members had, the privilege of having mom at home, and mom being able to teach, while dad was out making the money and making it possible for mom to be able to be at home when we needed her. These children don't have that. These children are being raised by single parents, and mom is stressed the heck out trying to be mom and dad. You think dad's unimportant? You think you can do this by yourself? Even now, when I go out and work with children, I have an assistant. It's Abby. Makes life a lot better, easier when you operate in twos. I think even Christ said, when you go out as disciples, make sure you go out in twos. I think there's something to that principle. But anyway, getting back to home training. If you as a child, if your child is missing home training, this is something that can bleed into the rest of their lives. If they do not understand respect, and these children come to school, they talk to you like they're talking to someone less human sometimes. I mean, I know some teachers can really go there too, and sometimes we need to. But when you're dealing all day with children who do not have home training, and either if they were given the home training, because I'm sure a lot of parents probably would say, and there are some that probably would say, yeah, you need to get in this teacher's face. Well, I've never done that. And in fact, when my child had come home and said that they were doing that, I would get in their case. No, I'm first going to support the teacher, because that is what's wrong with society right now. You have a vast number of children that think that they are supposed to have no respect for authority. And I can tell you that there are some adults who really are still childish. Why? Because we have a lot of children having children. They're off the chain. They haven't learned anything themselves, and they're 16, 17, 18. They haven't learned very much about life. And so they're still acting childish, and they raise their children with childish behavior. And when the children come to the school and are being disrespectful to authorities, talk back, have to have the last word and all of that, that child usually has problems. They're going to have some problems in the school system. I haven't had that problem with my children. Not once. Not once did I have any parent telling me that my child was disrespectful. Hadn't happened. Nope, don't plan on that. Once you get grown, that's another thing. And they're pretty much the same way now. I'm probably more disrespectful than they are. But I'm grown. I'm at a point now, I'm 60-something years old. Shoot. Just like I'm doing right now, I'm going to be as respectful as I can and level-headed as much as I can. And I'm less, at this point in my life, I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I tell it like it is, straightforward. I don't have the patience that I had back then, and neither am I seeking it. I try to use wisdom, but as far as just putting it out there, this is a time in your life to where society needs people of my age to really just stand up and tell it like it, how they say, T-I is. Tell it like it is. And that's where I am. And I think when you get to be a grown person, no one needs to have to sugarcoat and spoon feed you the truth. Life is moving on. So I'm dealing with students in the school system who are disrespectful. And I tell them, if you're doing these things already, even as a child, when you left your home and you're in school, you have not learned how to be respectful, how to treat other. You actually learn how to treat other people when you have siblings. And now we're at the point of where some people just want to have one child. That child grows up selfish. He doesn't know how to incorporate himself with other people a lot of times. And if mom is working and not really being able to put all these things to get that child ready for society, a lot of things are missed. And it's not necessarily the child's fault, it's the parents' fault also. Because we should try to establish our families in a way to where there are two parties. Someone has to be focused on bringing the resources in, and someone has to be focused on developing the resources, your children that are already here, that you're producing, to go out into this world and supposedly to make the world a better place. But we're in overdrive to where we're producing a product that's going out and making the world a worse place. And it's not so much their fault, it's our fault. We've dropped the ball and we don't know how to pick it back up. Well, I'm here to maybe pass a little wisdom on after the years that I've lived here and even have an interest in wanting to be of service. So I'm saying that, number one, let's go back to the number of children. When there are several siblings in the family, those children with a good mom is going to teach them how to get along with each other. These are your sisters and brothers, and you constantly teach them how to treat each other, and they have to be accountable to the parents. Well, when you go to the school, the teachers have to teach you that these are your sisters and brothers. This is the way I do it. They're your sisters and brothers. And then right off, I have a student that say, ain't my sister, ain't my brother. Right there's a problem right there. If the mother did not let them understand that your sisters and brothers, you're supposed to be able to, these are your peers. You're supposed to treat them fairly and teach them how to love each other and respect one another. So once they learn that, when they go into the classroom, now these are your sisters and brothers. Now you got a lot of sisters and brothers you're going to have to deal with. And the experience that you have had in the home has transitioned itself up to the school and transformed itself. So now you're doing the same thing. It really hasn't changed. It's just more a volume. The volume has increased. So now you got more sisters and brothers. Now you got to learn how to treat and respect them. But at the same time, you've got to be able to respect your teacher. And if you haven't gotten that, you're still... There's work to do in our community. It's just work. And if you're constantly being sent out of the class, being sent to ISS, being punished in any kind of way, having to call your parents up and all this is a form of getting you ready to face a system of corrections that you do not really want. You come into this world and you want to be able to live as a free person, but you mess around and make the wrong decisions based on not paying attention, not concentrating and playing your ace, what I call playing your ace, eyes and ears focused on your instructors, the people who are teaching you, those who have gone ahead of you. They have something to teach you, but you think that you're so smart. You think that you're smarter than the teacher. You don't know how to say yes sir and no sir and seal your mouth and do it respectfully. Now, you may feel differently. You can go home and discuss it with your parents. But as far as right there at that school, you learn how to say yes, sir, no, sir. And operate accordingly. Get advice as you need it. But basically, these principles are started with home training. So a lot of children have not graduated from their home well. Or the parents pass them on with passing colors, and they have failed. They have failed home training, and therefore they're failing out here in the world. They're causing chaos. They're embarrassing. I always tell the students, you represent your parents when you come here. And when your parents have to come up here because the teachers are complaining about the things that you are doing that's out of order, disorder, and what have you, those parents really, they're up there fussing at the teachers or maybe fussing at you, but really they're thinking that, where have I failed? They're not proud about having to come up and defend for you and all this kind of stuff up at the school because you have not learned to discipline yourselves. You have not learned how to be respectful. The parent can sometimes be just as disrespectful as the child. So the fruit does not fall far from the tree. So if your parents weren't prepared, then a lot of times the children, you can't expect the children to be prepared, and the children's to be. It becomes a snowball, and it just gets worse. And that's what we're dealing with here. And the prisons are filling up, and it saddens me because it's us. But even with us, we're not the beginning of this. This started way back in slavery. It's all really a plan. So people like the older generation, we have to try to pick this ball up and go back and try to redeem the times. We have to go back and try to teach where no teaching or weak teaching has been laying before us. And if we don't do that, then things will continue to get worse. Our communities will become unsafe. And I talk to the students about, don't you want to live in a safe environment, a safe haven? You want to create that for your children where they're not afraid to live in the community without being shot and all of this kind of stuff. Well, it's not going to happen until men step back into their places, women step back into their places, and let's produce our children in order. I love order. I really do. I love order. And I'm a person of order. In my prayers every day, there's a part in my prayer where I say I want to put things in order, in God's order, divine order. And without order, I really don't want to be a part of it. I was once accused of being very controlling. I don't think I'm very controlling, but I like control. I do. I don't want anyone making me responsible for something that I cannot control. It's not fair to me. You give me this responsibility to do, but I can't make it happen. Why? I mean, when your children are acting a fool, don't they tell the parent, her children are out of order. She needs to get her children in order. Well, man needs to get his household in order. So if your household is in order, what are you going to do to fix it? You got to tighten the ropes. You got to do something to get this thing under control. Now, some people like to, I guess there are different methods and different ways. Everybody have their way of doing things, but I'm just I'm like, if I can get it in control, and all I need you to do is just be respectful. I'm going to be respectful to you if you're respectful. If it's nobody, ask any teacher. Put a little hellion in your classroom. That teacher be so glad when that kid get out of that classroom. You can have all these nice little kids in the class. You can have one in there that would just make you want to go home and quit. You don't have any problems. You have the whole class under control. You have this one child that can come in and upset the whole thing. And it's not fair. It's not fair. So what do you have to do? You have to send that child out and send them to ISS. But the sad thing about it is that if you have a family, you don't want to send your children to ISS. ISS is prison. ISS is foster care. ISS is admitting you cannot control this youngin'. It's failure. To me, that's failure. And I don't like to fail. So I like to put forth my best effort. I think everyone should put forth their best effort. I have this saying, strive for excellence in everything. Now I know I'm not perfect, but at least I think your attitude should be, I will strive for excellence. I will always strive to get better than what I was yesterday. So I live my life that way, and I pretty much do things that way. With my family, in raising my children, it's the same way. My wife told me I was too controlling. Yep, she sure did. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. He's too controlling. Yeah, because I wanted my home in order. I hate a junky-ass, filthy place. I hate it. I do. I like my place to be in order because I like to be in order. I like things. When I go into a store and I see that store is junky, got roaches and all this kind of stuff, I don't want to shop there. I don't want to eat there. I don't want to live there. And I'm going to talk about it. And I'm not going to put my name on that store. And I'm not going there to that store to eat. I'm not, because they are out of control. They're out of order. They need to put things in order. Who goes into a store and you got the ketchup over on the aisle with where they sell clothes? You're out of order. You need to get this under control. How do you get it under control? You teach. But here's the thing, if you get a student or a child or a member of your business, a member of your organization, whatever it is, if it's going to have structure, you need to have these things under control. Under control means just to put things in righteous order. So I put my ketchup over where the condiments are and the food is. Yes, I'm controlling. I don't want stuff that belongs in the bathroom sitting up in the kitchen. And I don't want stuff sitting in the kitchen that's supposed to be in the kitchen sitting in the bathroom or in some ungodforsaken place. Yeah, I'm in that case. Yes. Controlling. And if you can't fall under those rules, you really need to go. But when you're dealing with your family and things are out of order. So when you have a family, you got children that talking back to you, wife talking back to you, But you are responsible. You, as the man of the house, is supposed to be leading this home. And you're leading by doing, number one. You need to be able to do these things yourself. You need to be able to do these things. You do not deserve to be a leader if you have not learned to follow instructions to know how to put a household together. Well, I was given instructions. I was raised with that type of discipline. But it wasn't a mean environment. It was just, Mama made her clean the house. And Daddy taught us how to do father things, manly things. So I got it all. So I'm a good candidate. I know that. A good candidate for raising a family. Teaching a classroom. Setting up a community. All those things that involve organization. I have great skills in these areas. That's where my strengths are. So, if you want order and you want things to be in order, you have to appreciate order. And you have to be the type of person that if you're not a very organized person and you want to be, because if you're going to raise a family, you need to be able to put things in order, else you're just passing chaos down to the next generation. But if you're willing and you're lacking, then you need to become teachable. And if you're not teachable, you're not able to be a student, then you are a major part of the problem. And that's what's happening in our culture. Many of us do not know how to do because you have not been a follower. You have not been a follower. But yet you think you should lead, and you lead in chaos. And when someone brings you discipline, you cannot handle it. You're mean. The students come to school, they call the teachers mean when they send them to the office, when they put them out of class. When you bring it to them and let them understand, this is not just them. You're out of order because you have never seen order. You don't understand what it is. You don't know what disrespect is. Because your chaos and your disrespect is normal life to you. So the child does not even realize that they're out of order. Why? Because that was their normality in their homes. So, with that said, at the end of this day, I look back at this that just came out of me is obviously it's obviously have other reasons why I've chosen to talk about this. Evidently, that's why it's in forefront of my mind, because not only is this something that happened in the school that day, but I kind of look back over my life to try to examine some of the issues that I've had to experience and have experienced. I have to look at those things face on and try to get some understanding or wisdom in how to, if not fix my own situation, but to pass it on to the next generation so that they would have it as an example to use to validate that home training is very important, and it is what is needed right now. It's really the source of a lot of the problems that we're having in society now. The families have been broken down. And once they are broken, you have to have very knowledgeable and responsible people and individuals who are teachable and willing to be taught in order to learn to teach so that they can fix the future or the next generation of their children that's coming down the pipe. I'm finished having children, but I'm possibly talking to children who have not looked at it far enough or through the eyes of someone who is much older. And I started talking with my students this morning, saying that they see things about here. There are some teachers here in this school that are young enough to be my children. They are seeing from here. Then there are some other teachers who are seeing about here. But Mr. Ezell, I'm 66 years old. I have raised children, and I haven't even gotten to my grandchildren. But I've gone enough on this cycle to be able to see here, way out here. So these students will have the advantage, those who watch this video and see this video, and the ones that I come in contact with in the school system and in everyday living will get the advantage of the history that I bring and the foresight and the light that I bring to them in order so that they can kind of figure this thing out and try to save our family, save our people, save our culture. We have dropped the ball. We dropped it a long time ago. And it's time for us to look at the problem and use the wisdom from old to be able to fix this. So in my own little way, I guess that's what at the end of this day has taught me. And I pass on to you. So at the end of the day, at the end of this day, I grant you peace.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.